Hi guys, you're listening to Ladies First on ABP Live Podcasts with me, Niharika, Nanda. In this podcast, we talk to the real girl bosses of the 21st century who have established themselves no matter the kind of hurdles that they had to face. And one such girl boss whom we have today with us is Dr. Cuterus, aka her real name, by the way, Dr. Tanaya Narendra. Hi doctor, how are you?
Hi, I'm very, very good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, feeling a little starstruck because I've been following you since God knows how long and I absolutely love your content.
You have absolutely made me very, very happy hearing this. Thank you. बहुत अच्छा लगता है सुन के when there's an impact.
It is rightly, most rightly deserved. And 1 million soon, how is that feeling? कैसी फीलिंग आ रही है इस टाइम पे कि बस होने
मैं कुछ नहीं बोलूंगी, मैं जिंक्स कर दूंगी.
But you must be feeling थोड़ा सा excited.
Actually, हाँ, but like basically अभी हाल में I just moved back to India, तो इतना मैं content पे focus नहीं कर पाई हूँ, तो ठीक है, हो जाएगा, धीरे धीरे हो जाएगा. The aim was never 1 million followers. The aim was more things. So
Definitely. So let's focus on those more things. How did this whole idea of Dr. Cuterus come up?
So मैं आधे समय इंग्लैंड में रह रही थी, आधे समय इंडिया में रह रही थी. I was working towards getting a license to practice in the UK as a doctor. And World Menstrual Hygiene Day था. For context, मेरे मम्मी पापा दोनों डॉक्टर हैं, अदरवाइज ये कहानी बहुत अटपटी लगेगी. मैं अपने बेडरूम में बैठी हुई थी जो कि एक स्टोर रूम बन चुका था, एंड एक यूट्रस का मॉडल पड़ा हुआ था. Now I was like, मैं तो मेंस्ट्रुअल कप यूज़ करती हूँ. उस समय इंडिया में इतने ईजिली मेंस्ट्रुअल कप्स नहीं मिल रहे थे, तो a lot of my friends would ask me to bring them back for them. तो बाकी दोस्त पूछते थे ये यूज़ कैसे होता है क्या ये चीज़. So I picked up that uterus model and I was like, ठीक है, इससे एक्सप्लेन कर देते हैं कैसे चल रहा है. And I put that on my personal Instagram account. और मेरे दोस्तों को बड़ा अच्छा लगा. They were like, आप इसे पब्लिक करिए. And then started posting. उस समय वही इंडिया इंग्लैंड एग्जाम चल रहा था, तो मैं बहुत पोस्ट नहीं कर पाई. बट अर्ली 2020 आई वाज लाइक लेट्स डू समथिंग विद दिस, एंड देन कुछ और कहीं शुरू हुआ था और कुछ और कहीं पहुंच गया है. बट आई लाइक वेयर इट्स गॉन. सो
that is great. And just to give you a lot of perspective, just to give you some perspective, Dr. Tanaya here goes by the name of Dr. Cuterus on Instagram. In case you don't follow her, क्या कर रहे हो यार, जाओ please follow करो. She is a doctor and a sex positive influencer. On her content, on her Instagram you can find all sorts of sex related queries and जो कि आपको बहुत ही अच्छे से सब के answers मिलेंगे to the point. So अगर अब तक follow नहीं कर रहे हो, please follow करो, do that. And so you have studied in Oxford. How has that experience been? I mean, it is one of the most prestigious universities in the world. So how was that experience?
तो जब मैं मेडिकल स्कूल में थी, मेरा बड़ा I really wanted to study a little bit more science, do some research. तो Oxford was a step into that. मेरे को साइंटिस्ट बनने का बड़ा शौक था. एंड आई डिड माई मास्टर्स देयर. आई स्टडीड समथिंग कॉल्ड क्लिनिकल एम्ब्रियोलॉजी, जिसमें हम लोग ये पढ़ते हैं कि जैसे जिन लोगों को फर्टिलिटी के इश्यूज होते हैं, IVF जो एक प्रोसेस होती है, ये सब यूज़ कैसे करते हैं और इनफर्टिलिटी का ट्रीटमेंट कैसे होता है. तो दैट्स व्हाट माय मास्टर्स वाज इन, बिकॉज बोथ माय पेरेंट्स आर फर्टिलिटी डॉक्टर्स. तो मतलब आई हैव प्रैक्टिकली ग्रोन अप अराउंड द वर्ल्ड ऑफ IVF, IUI, ICSI, ऑल ऑफ दैट. तो वहाँ जाके मेरा रिसर्च इंटरेस्ट कुछ और ही चला गया. एंड आई स्टार्टेड वर्किंग विद वेरी वेरी अर्ली एम्ब्रियो डेवलपमेंट. और बहुत ही मज़ेदार चीज़ें करी मैंने. उसके बाद आई वर्कड विद द ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी हॉस्पिटल. वहाँ पे हम लोग वेरी यंग चिल्ड्रन, सो जनरली प्यूबर्टी के बाद हम एग और स्पर्म्स बनाना शुरू करते हैं अपनी बॉडी में. एग तो हमेशा से होते हैं, बट स्पर्म हम तब बनाना शुरू करते हैं. तो अगर किन्हीं बच्चों को कैंसर होता है, तो जब उनकी कीमोथेरेपी होती है, उससे इनकी एग और स्पर्म प्रोडक्शन की एबिलिटी ख़त्म हो जाती है. सो दे विल स्ट्रगल टू हैव चिल्ड्रन इन द फ्यूचर. तो वी वर वर्किंग ऑन सम रिसर्च टू हेल्प प्रिजर्व दिस फर्टिलिटी in very young kids who haven't started making sperm or who not in the process of making their eggs mature. तो ये सब करते करते मुझे बहुत ही अच्छा लगा. एंड देन आई थिंक ऑक्सफोर्ड वाज अ ड्रीम फुली. बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग चीज़ें करने मिली जो कटिंग एज इन द वर्ल्ड. एब्सोल्युटली रिसर्च अभी वहीं है ही नहीं. राइट. तो it was a dream.
I think it is a dream for almost all the people around, and you are one of the few people who actually fulfilled that dream. So वो feeling कैसी थी, like the day you stepped into Oxford, like How was that adrenaline rush?
वेरी ऑनेस्टली बहुत डरी हुई थी मैं 24 साल की थी, बस मेडिकल स्कूल से निकली थी एंड मैंने बिल्कुल दुनिया देखी नहीं थी, बिकॉज यू फ्रेश आउट ऑफ कॉलेज एंड काफ़ी कुछ इंटिमिडेटिंग था. देयर इज़ अ वेरी लॉन्ग हिस्ट्री, इट्स द ओल्डेस्ट यूनिवर्सिटी इन द वर्ल्ड. तो काफ़ी ऐसे घबराहट हो रही थी. बट ग्रोइंग अप आई ऑलवेज हर्ड इलाहाबाद यूनिवर्सिटी को ऑक्सफोर्ड ऑफ द ईस्ट बोलते थे. एंड सिंस मैं इलाहाबाद से हूँ तो मेरे को लगता था ये तो अपनी जगह ऐसा हो जाएगा, मैनेज
पहुंच जाएगा. अगर इंडिया के ऑक्सफोर्ड में पढ़ लिया तो फिर ऑक्सफोर्ड में भी पढ़ लेंगे, क्या जा रहा है.
इंडिया के ऑक्सफोर्ड से हम हैं.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
सो या आई थिंक क्वाइट ओवरवेलमिंग बट मज़ा आया. बहुत अच्छा एटमोसफियर है. देयर इज़ अ लॉट ऑफ एम्फेसिस ऑन रिसर्च, देयर इज़ अ लॉट ऑफ एम्फेसिस ऑन developing your personality and learning other things. मतलब हम लोग को एक लेक्चर दिया गया था PowerPoint प्रेजेंटेशन कैसे बनाते हैं. अब मैं सोच रही थी क्या बकवास चल रही है ये, बट अब मुझे लगता है
PowerPoint प्रेजेंटेशन बना के स्कूल कॉलेज सब निकल गया.
बट अब मुझे लगता है that I learned some invaluable skills over there in how to present, content कैसे बनाना है, चीज़ें सिंप्लीफाई कैसे करनी है, थिंग्स ऑफ दैट सॉर्ट. तो बहुत ही अच्छा रहा.
Definitely. And so coming to the kind of content that you create, since you mentioned content, now you are a woman who openly talks about sexual health, reproductive health. So has there been any challenges or struggles that you had to face because of that, considering the fact that it is such a taboo, quote unquote, in our society?
I think I've always been that kid, even in school, because मम्मी गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट हैं, तो किसी को पीरियड से प्रॉब्लम्स होती थी सब मेरे पास ही आ जाते थे पूछने कि भाई ये हो रहा है, ऐसा हो रहा है. तो I don't think it was a big transition for me really.
Right.
I've always been that kind of person to never feel ashamed about that. My parents have always been very, very open and very, very frank in discussing sex and periods and reproduction. तो इतना हेजिटेशन तो नहीं हुआ, बट डेफिनेटली व्हेन यू डू इट ऑन अ लार्ज स्केल काफ़ी बदतमीजी होती है, काफ़ी अनवांटेड पिक्चर्स होती हैं दैट यू डोंट वांट टू सी दैट.
Definitely not.
एंड मतलब वो चरित्र पे टिप्पणी,
वो तो मतलब unsolicited advice, unsolicited comments, and of course unsolicited images.
Yeah, probably.
Talk about sliding into DMs. God, the kind of things that you would like. The common perception is that if she talks about it, she'd be fine with whatever we are sending across.
She'll be open to it. Yeah, easy hai.
That is such a bad perception, but we can't deny the fact that it is a perception. So I'm sure that you must have gotten a lot of unsolicited DMs across these last 2 years.
I think it's very challenging when somebody new comes on my team, because then I have to tell them कि देखो बॉस ऐसा होने वाला है.
You have to prepare them.
ये क्या है?
So how do you deal with all of that? I mean, we already know that social media is a place जहाँ तुम्हें वैसे ही बहुत troll किया जाएगा in general if you are a content creator, let alone the fact that you're talking about sex and reproduction and so much more. So वहाँ तो मतलब like I'm sure the kind of God, the bullying you would be facing, like how is it? How do you deal with it?
I think आदत पड़ गई शुरू में. In the first 4 or 5 months only I was like ठीक है ये होना ही है तो might as well get used to it. इतना फर्क नहीं भी पड़ता है, because to be very honest the response is overwhelmingly positive. 100 messages में से 10 बकवास आएंगे, पर 90 जो आते हैं ना, like it makes my heart glow with so much joy कि कुछ हुआ, किसी को फर्क पड़ा है इस बात से. ठीक है,
that is motivation enough.
Right. बाकी 10 चल जाते हैं,
छोड़ देंगे उन 10 को, कोई बात नहीं. Not worth the माथा पच्ची. So tell me this, like how was your childhood? You mentioned that you have grown up with a brother. So as a woman, I'm sure like although you did mention that your parents, they were very forward about all of this, but did you feel some sort of a थोड़ा डिस्क्रिमिनेशन वाला हाउसहोल्ड और नॉट एट ऑल, लाइक इट वाज कंप्लीटली इक्वल, तुम भी ये करो तुम भी ये करो, दोनों सब
बहुत डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है, मुझे बहुत फायदा मिलता है घर में. बहुत फेवर मिलता है.
दैट्स द काइंड ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन वी वांट टू हैपन.
So when my brother is 10 years older, okay, and जब भैया पैदा हुआ था, my parents had they were in the early phase of their career.
Right.
मम्मी के पास बिल्कुल टाइम नहीं होता था as a busy gynecologist. तो भैया बेचारा ऐसे ही बड़ा हो गया. मम्मी पापा कहते हैं हमने तो देखा ही नहीं इसको बचपन में.
अपने आप ही.
हाँ, अपने आप ही बस हो गया वो. One day he was इत्तू सा, next day he was इत्तू सा. So मेरे साथ ऐसा नहीं था, because by the time I wasn't a planned child. My parents were like एक हो गया, set है अब. And then when I appeared on the picture, my mom was like, ठीक है, अब थोड़ा chill करते हैं life में, बहुत दिन मेहनत कर ली. So I got a lot of attention and I got a lot of हाँ, वो क्या बोलते हैं, बुढ़ापे की बच्ची हूँ मैं. तो मुझे बहुत attention मिला है बचपन में.
So right now, like you mentioned that for a while you've been sort of inactive as far as content is concerned. So what is the next step? Like, do you have something huge in planning? Because we've seen a few glimpses of stuff on your Instagram. So would you like to brief us a little about the book that you've been working on?
So yeah, for the past 1 year, I have been working on a book. I'm working with Penguin and बहुत ही मज़े आ रहे हैं. अभी I just finished writing the entire book in July. Okay. And अभी उसका post production, editing और cover design and all of that is happening. तो बड़ा exciting time है. And yeah, the book is going to be out in December and okay. It's just really, I'm very excited about the kind of, there's never been a book like this on the Indian market really, because you know there's a lot of different Indian market क्या globally भी बहुत ज़्यादा आपको ऐसी किताबें मिल जाएंगी कि सेक्स क्या होता है, अपनी sexual life कैसे बेहतर करें, अपनी love life कैसे बेहतर करें, things like that. Mine is very focused on ABCD. ये जेनिटल है, ये ऐसा होता है, ये पीरियड है, ये ऐसा होता है, ये कॉन्ट्रासेप्शन है. सो इट्स लाइक बेसिक रीडिंग फॉर एवरीबडी एंड फ्रॉम अ वेरी साइंटिफिक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ऑफ कोर्स, बट वेरी सिंपल लैंग्वेज कि मतलब 15 साल से लेके 45 साल का बच्चा समझ सके उसे. बहुत ज़रूरी है बिकॉज वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट सेक्स एंड वी गेट रिप्रोडक्टिव एजुकेशन इन इंडिया फॉर श्योर, बट वो भी नहीं मिला था स्कूल में. But वही कि sex education is still something that is not as prevalent as it should be, even in the 21st century. I mean, we're living in 2022 and still. So I think your book is definitely going to be something of a groundbreaking book, and I'm sure that people from whatever age should definitely read it because we need it. We big time need it. You are like the Netflix wala sex education. Thank you very much. I think I'm trying to redraw the focus from the idea of sex education to body literacy because you know
that is also a very questionable thing because we don't know a lot about it.
हमें अपनी बॉडी के बारे में सिखाया ही नहीं जाता है. तो सेक्स एजुकेशन जब बोलते हैं ना तो एक दिमाग में आइडिया होता है कि हम सेक्स एजुकेशन करेंगे.
We're talking about mainstream coitus and not actually being aware about our own body.
Exactly. I feel like once you're empowered with the right knowledge, you can make better decisions for your body, for your health and for your life.
For sure.
Which is why my whole focus is समझो नॉर्मल क्या है क्या नहीं है, कब डॉक्टर के पास जाना है. So it's also very sort of medicine driven in my you know my real life and so trying to club that together. And then after my book my next plan is कि मैं HPV vaccine के बारे में और promotion करना चाहती हूँ. I hopefully want to petition a couple of people, some key change makers and try to bring it into the national immunization protocol.
I'll be honest, I actually got to know about the HPV vaccine through your account. I was not aware about it before that. So you are the person who actually gave me the information about that.
Vaccine Dubai?
Abhi nahi, but soon. Definitely soon. Yes. It is on the cards. So as a sex positive person, as someone who is out there educating people, what do you think for the Gen Z and for our for the coming generation, the people who are kids right now, उनको हम कैसे ज़्यादा sex positive बना सकते हैं and how can we remove this taboo around this whole concept? Of course, one thing is through creators like you, and what else do you think we can do for that?
I mean, I think creator and all is great, but we need more conversation in the mainstream space. ठीक है, मतलब कितने लोग हैं Instagram पे यार, कितना ही कुछ कर लेंगे हम वहाँ पे. I'm sure it's made a huge impact in it, you know, there's a lot that can be done, but educational level पे, policy level पे changes चाहिए. That's where I see the real future of change. And hopefully we'll get better education in schools about it.
Yeah. And that is the core thing that जहाँ से difference आएगा, because after all that is the fundamental years when you actually get information about everything. So ये तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा important है. If we don't know about ourselves, our bodies, so what's the point of anything at any point?
Absolutely. And then also I feel like the focus also needs to go into destigmatizing this topic in families and in friend circles. जैसे friends में तो बहुत बात करते हैं, पता है मैंने अपनी ब्लू फिल्म देखी थी पहली बार. हमारे ज़माने में तो DVD आती थी. तो things like that, इतना टैबू बात है ये कि अगर पेरेंट्स फ्रैंकली बात कर सकें अपने बच्चों से And अगर older people in life just sort of make this a little bit more chill, मतलब मुझे तो सब बता दिया गया था बचपन में ही, and it helped me understand my body and understand periods so well. कि periods इतना difficult transition time होता है generally young लोगों की life में. तो just I knew I had the right people to ask questions to.
Right.
कोई issue होता था, I could ask my brother, I could ask my parents, and I think that has made the biggest impact.
Definitely. And you said that you could ask your brother. That's also a very huge thing, because mom बता दे घर पे तो that is fine, but asking your father or your brother, that again becomes कि यार ये करना है कि नहीं करना. So that is also something again that comes from the parents.
Absolutely.
That how open and how sex positive they are, that how comfortably you can actually talk to them.
Fully.
So tell me this, like as far as your content is concerned, what kind of a change do you want to see, like in the people who are consuming your content through the kind of information that you're giving out?
HPV vaccination. I mean, I'm very happy to see 2 साल पहले this was not even a conversation really, and now Serum Institute मतलब इतना चिल्लाया हम लोगों ने मिलके, and then eventually more doctors joined in कि अब Serum Institute of India एक नई subsidized vaccine launch कर रहा है this year. It's a huge thing. Sara Ali Khan is advertising the HPV vaccine when this conversation didn't exist 2 years ago.
Right.
So definitely good things are happening, but I wish more people. बेसिकली आई मीन जस्ट टू गिव यू एन एग्जाम्पल, मैं कभी भी आदमियों के लिए लड़कों के लिए कभी भी कंटेंट डालती हूँ तो 50% मैसेजेस बदतमीजी के होते हैं.
They are not receptive of the kind of information you're actually giving out. They just
मजे लेने में लगे रहते हैं, क्या होते हैं, I have no idea, but it really hurts me that I wish I could create more content for men as well, but टाइम कौन वेस्ट करेगा इन लोगों से लड़ने में. तो मतलब there's a billion better things I have to do with my life.
Right.
तो वो if we can see some change in men themselves, and आदमी ही अगर एक दूसरे को रोकने लगे ना कि भाई मत कर बदतमीजी, she's
right, exactly, she's doing a good job and she's doing it for your benefit.
Exactly. I think what we miss so often is कि women are getting more empowered to call out this bullshit now, but men don't call out their own friends.
Yeah,
and I think that's a huge problem.
That's where the difference actually comes. So that really is an issue. And in fact, talking about calling out men, you said that friends के बीच में ये बात हो जाती है, like you can talk about sex, you can talk about periods, and in fact even male friends are very fine with that. But then again, there is a different kind of conversation that goes on between male friends as a whole. We got to know about that all locker room things and everything. So that is the place where the conversation really needs to change, I feel. Because after all, it's not like it's not something ki sex is something that is an achievement. It's again consent, things like consent, and really इतना बड़ा mess है वो among
इस room में जितने लोग हैं, everybody here was born because of sex.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all a product of sex.
Right.
Like कोई ऐसी हॉ वाली चीज नहीं है खाने की तरह. कभी ये तो शर्म आती नहीं कि हाय उसने खाना खा लिया, oh my god, wow, हॉ छुप छुप के खाना खा. We don't treat food that way.
Exactly.
So what's the big deal? It's just biological process.
We need to stop making it a big deal and actually talking about the bigger issues, like भाई consent बहुत important है, and that is what I think. Even if two males are sitting and they're talking about consent, it's a big deal, and I think that is how we need to talk more about.
And it needs to stop being a big deal. It has to be a normal conversation. ये कोई बड़ी बात नहीं लगनी चाहिए कि भाई 2 लौंडों ने मिलके कंसेंट के बारे में बात कर ली, मतलब हो वाओ तीर मार लिया, ठीक है यार, मतलब
अच्छी बात है, because that's a very normal thing. If you're ready to have sex, then you need to be ready to say hear a no and say a no as well if you are fine with it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tanaya, for having this conversation, this particularly Gen Z wala conversation, because we need to have such conversations more often. So thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for being the perfect girl boss, who is a perfect representative of ladies first.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Same here. Thank you so much.